Today, we're going to talk about the differences between narcissists and psychopaths. People confuse them all the time, but there are some important distinctions between them. Let's go point by point. The first and main difference is that they rely on different resources and have different goals. For someone with narcissistic personality disorder, the most important resource is admiration. At its core, this is a disorder of self-esteem. A narcissist's sense of self-worth is completely dependent on reflection from the outside. If a narcissist receives admiration, approval, unconditional praise just for existing, as someone unique, exceptional, the most amazing, only then do they feel grand and powerful. When they don't get it, they feel like nothing. That's why narcissists are highly dependent on the opinions of others. Their self-esteem is extremely fragile, and they put enormous effort into building an image. Successful, in demand, cool. The external picture is critical for them. Their whole grandiosity hangs on it. If they don't get admiration and attention, their inner world collapses. Inside, they're no longer the king of the universe, but a loser. That's exactly how they feel. It's vitally important to them to be admired because they don't have a stable inner sense of self-worth. A psychopath, on the other hand, cares very little about what other people think. They are rock-solid convinced of their own greatness without any outside confirmation. Their self-esteem is much more stable and does not depend on anyone else's gaze. I'm a god, period, and what anyone thinks about that doesn't matter. A psychopath will try to make a good impression only when it benefits them. They put on a mask of respectability, purely to get what they want and avoid responsibility. For a psychopath, the most important things are having control, power, and the ability to use people for their own purposes. So a narcissist primarily craves admiration and praise, while a psychopath craves power and gain. The second difference is their relationship to shame and being exposed. When a narcissist does something nasty or cruel, crosses obvious social norms, they feel afraid of being exposed. A narcissist lives with a constant sense of narcissistic shame and is terrified of being shamed and unmasked. Deep down, they are very cowardly. A psychopath doesn't have this fear. There is no shame, no internal break. Psychopaths are fearless, emotionally frozen people, capable of cold-blooded destruction. If a psychopath feels rage and aggression, they are much more impulsive than a narcissist, and worse at controlling that aggression. What holds a narcissist back is the thought, what will people think of me? How will I look in their eyes? What will happen to my status and image? Social status and flawless social masks are extremely important to them. They will carefully create and protect them. Narcissists obsess over their reputation. For a psychopath, reputation as such has little value. Their main concern is simply not ending up in prison and not losing access to their benefits and resources. The third difference is in the stages of idealization and devaluation. With narcissists, the idealization stage is usually bright and longer-lasting. Against that background, the devaluation stage looks very stark. A narcissist skillfully and subtly adapts to you, creates the illusion of a perfect relationship and a flawless version of themselves, literally placing themselves on a pedestal. At the beginning of a relationship, narcissists often put on a vivid sugar show. Psychopaths almost don't have this ability. They either have no real idealization stage at all, or it's very weak. they're not as theatrical as narcissists. On top of that, a narcissist actually believes in the image they're projecting, and in the early stages of dating, can truly be impeccable in that role. Devaluation from a narcissist starts later, when they feel that you're already hooked. A psychopath is simpler. Already on the first dates, if you pay close attention, you can notice elements of devaluation disguised as witty teasing or supposedly innocent jokes. A psychopath starts throwing in little stabs of devaluation almost right away. Quick, seemingly not that painful, but still hitting you or something you identify with. They might put down women in general, your profession, education, or parents. For them, it's a habit to be nasty from the start. Narcissists typically don't do this at the beginning. They spend a long time adapting to you and courting from all sides. The fourth difference is sleep. People with narcissistic personality disorder sleep very poorly. They have serious problems with sleep. Their brain can't switch off, and their sleep-wake cycles are often disrupted. Narcissists are extremely anxious and often rely on sleeping pills. When a narcissist can't sleep, they often prefer to entertain themselves by depriving you of sleep as well. This is called sleep deprivation, torture by taking away sleep. That's why victims can walk around like zombies for years, not understanding what's happening to them. They're literally exhausted. Psychopaths, by contrast, usually sleep great. Their nervous system is strong, and sleep problems are rare. The fifth difference is their attitude toward other people's pain. A psychopath enjoys causing suffering. They have strongly pronounced sadistic tendencies. Other people's pain gives them a sense of release and pleasure. Caused pain, got a high. That's how a psychopath gets hooked on sadism. Narcissists generally don't derive direct pleasure from open, obvious sadism. For them, sadism is a tool, a way to control, punish, break the victim, and force them to obey their rules. It's a way to re-educate you so that you become obedient, patient, endlessly forgiving, and admiring. If you don't listen and don't submit, then it's time to break and re-educate you. That's how sadism works for a narcissist. The sixth difference is the type of abuse. Narcissists are more inclined towards psychological abuse. Devaluation, ignoring, criticism, triangulation, gaslighting, double binds, gradually driving you crazy with subtle manipulation. A narcissist is a master of emotional abuse. Psychopaths are more likely to use overt physical violence and explicit sexual violence. They are more straightforward, harsher, fearless, and cold-blooded. If a narcissist acts in a veiled way, pinning you down somewhere, grabbing you, blocking your way, and then insisting that you imagined it, you're making a big deal out of nothing. You're overreacting like a hysterical idiot. A psychopath doesn't bother with that kind of finesse. If they hit wherever it lands. They don't control themselves, which makes them objectively more dangerous. The only thing they really worry about is avoiding punishment and legal consequences. And if there's a body, a psychopath is quite capable of hiding it. A narcissist, by contrast, is extremely concerned about their reputation and clings to their image. It's important to them that no one finds out, sees, or hears anything. Narcissists can commit more subtle, intellectually planned crimes through other people's hands, carefully mapping out schemes in advance, especially if we're talking about a cerebral, high-functioning narcissist. When it comes to physical violence, Narcissists are more likely to use strangulation. The victim can't scream, and there are often almost no marks left. That's why strangulation comes up so often in abuse stories. What do they have in common? Both narcissists and psychopaths lack empathy, the ability to feel with and for another person. They lack self-reflection, the ability to honestly analyze themselves. They don't recognize personal boundaries and are highly manipulative and toxic. In many cases, narcissists show psychopathic traits. There's a theory that narcissistic and psychopathic personality disorders lie on a single spectrum, and NPD is like a light version of psychopathy. As a narcissist ages, the disorder tends to worsen and gradually drift towards psychopathy. For professionals, the fine distinctions between them matter. But for someone who finds themselves in a relationship with a toxic partner, the main thing is different. If you feel bad in the relationship, if you've done everything you can for the family or friendship, but you keep losing your health, your connection with the outside world, and your sense of self, then it doesn't really matter who you're dealing with, a narcissist, a psychopath, or some other diagnosis. The important thing is that you need to get out. You shouldn't spend your life servicing someone else's disordered psyche. There are countless healthy, normal, adequate men and women in the world with whom you can build calm, constructive, healthy relationships. Romantic, professional, and friendly. Thank you for staying till the end. I hope this was helpful for you.